Okay. Median is what's right in the middle, so it's our cutoff for the lowest 50% of data. The third quartile, which is also called the upper quartile or Q3. Is the cutoff for the lowest 75% of data. Okay, and the maximum, hopefully you can guess, is the highest data point. Okay, what questions do you guys have? Obviously, I sped through that, so I will give you a minute to write that down. And then there's one thing that I want to add at the top before we start. Okay, the thing that I want to add is something called interquartile range. It's also referenced as IQR for interquartile range. And this is just Q3 minus Q1. Okay. What questions? Are you guys ready to move on, or do you want me to wait a minute? Where are y'all at?
Can you wait a minute?
Yes. Okay, so we can summarize the information from a 5 statistical summary visually with a box and whisker plot, which you guys probably learned about in like middle school. So the left-hand side represents our minimum. Okay, the first part of our box is going to represent Q1. Okay, then we're going to make our full box. All right, and our median is going to be a line somewhere in the middle. And Q3 is going to be our upper quartile there, our right-hand side of the box, and then we should have a line that goes out to our max. Okay, so that's what your box and whisker plot is. Okay, and like the median could shift around depending on what the data is. The box might be short or really long depending on what the data is. This min and max could be really close or really far away from the box. One could be close, one could be far away. There's a lot of different ways this box and whisker plot can look. And that is to give you a sense of the, kind of a visual sense of the data and how it's set up. Now, all of this information can be gotten from your calculator. So to get the get all this into your calculator, first you'll enter your data. Okay. In order to do that, you do the stat edit, and you just put it into a list. Then you find your 5-number summary by doing stat calc, and then 1 var stats. Okay, and it'll give you all those numbers listed after that. Okay, you can even make a box and whisker plot on your calculator. Okay, by doing second, going to y equals, turn on your stat plot. Okay, doing plot 1 on, picking the little box and whisker icon, and then doing zoom stats, which will just change your screen so that your box and whisker plot is in your screen. Okay, what questions do you guys have so far?
What is var stats? Is that what that says?
Yeah, 1 var stats. So if you go on your calculator, let's see here. So you click the stat button. No, it's off. Clear. So you go click the stat button, go over to calc. 1 var stats is the very first thing that comes up. We've used this before with our other stats. So it comes up with a lot of things. Okay, and I don't know if I have a list in there right now, but it'll give you all. You just scroll down to get your min, your Q1, your median, your Q3, and your max. So for whatever list I have. What other questions do you guys have? Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is outliers. Outliers, we have a general definition for. We understand them as things outside of, like, kind of away from the data, something that's particularly far away. But we have an actual definition of it. So we can actually classify outliers very specifically. So an outlier is a data point that is, hold on, let me let somebody in. Welcome, Megan. Hey. So we are working on the box and whisker plots right now. The notes, we haven't done anything else other than the warm up, but you'll be able to go back through and catch up on the on this with the video afterwards. Okay. So starting with outliers, an outlier is specifically a data point, excuse me, that is 1.5 IQRs above Q3 or 1.5 IQRs below Q1. Remember that IQR stands for interquartile range, and that is calculated by taking Q3 and subtracting Q1. So you would take whatever number you get for the IQR, multiply it by 1.5. If you have a data point that is bigger than that number that you got, then it is an outlier. You can also take your Q1 number and then you would subtract 1.5 IQRs. Did I say multiply over here? I think I did. You would add whatever 1.5 times the IQR is to your Q3 to see your cutoff, and you would subtract whatever 1.5 times the IQR is from Q1, to see your cutoff for outliers below the Q1. Okay, what questions do you guys have on outliers?
Is there any way you can write out what you just said? Because it's kind of confusing, just all the multiplying.
Yeah. So it is kind of written out in words here. Like, does that make sense to have, because your 1.5 IQR is above Q3. So above means you're adding, and it's 1.5 of whatever number this is. So you're just multiplying those guys. That's what that means. So this is, I guess.
So you subtract Q3 from Q1 and then multiply that by 1.5.
Yes. Yes. So plus Q3 here would give you your upper bound for outliers above the data. 1.5 times IQR, and Q1 minus that is going to give you your cutoff for outliers below the data. Okay, so below here we have an example. It says use the box and whisker plots to compare the scores from different algebra classes. We only have 10 minutes left. So let's see. Okay, I think that I had you guys doing the cumulative frequency activity after this, and that would require that we got to those notes. And if that's not the case, then you wouldn't be able to do anything more today. Let me just double check that. Make sure that that's what I had you doing. Yeah, so I have homework, and I'm pretty sure the only thing I had for you was that practice. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's see here and talk about cumulative frequency for just a second. So the thing that we're missing is this constant changes to mean and standard deviation. If I can't get through cumulative frequency fast enough, then I will cover the next thing, the constant changes to mean and standard deviation next class. That is not totally necessary for this. Okay, so let's briefly talk about cumulative frequency so that you can try some of the practice. I wrote on there, the practice is not due today. It will be due probably Friday. So you'll have next class to do it as well. Okay, so let's talk about cumulative frequency. A cumulative frequency graph shows the running total of frequencies. Okay, so if you're just writing this down on paper, go ahead and jot that sentence down. Okay, so let's look at this chart and kind of compare it to this graph to see exactly what that means. So we have a graph over here. It's called completion of a computer game. We have the number of students playing and then the time in minutes. Okay, so we're looking, the thing that we're like accumulating as we go is the number of students. Okay, so right here we have our first little range, and it's from 0 to 5. Okay, so 0 to 5 minutes goes up right here. And we can see that it comes to the point right here on this graph. And so cumulatively, we will have 20 students playing the game between 0 and 5 minutes total. Okay. And then if we look at the range between 5 and 15, if I go up to 15 and map it up to my function,